Most people get this wrong. You think intelligence protects you, that being rational, being able to argue well, understanding complex things makes you immune to falling into basic psychological traps. And it's exactly because you believe this that you become vulnerable. The problem isn't lack of intelligence. The problem is trusting it too much. It's using your head to justify things that deep down you already knew were wrong. And the smarter you are, the better you get at this. Look, this didn't start now. You've always been like this. From early on, you learned that thinking solves problems, that analyzing brings clarity, that emotion is less reliable than logic. And in many cases, that was right. It got you far. It gave you results. But there's a dark side to this. When you overdevelop your rational capacity, you start applying it to everything, including things that shouldn't be rationalized. You use logic where you should just feel. You argue when you should listen to that inner voice alerting you. You build elaborate explanations for behaviors that are simply unacceptable. And then you get stuck in situations that anyone from the outside would see the problem right away. But you don't see it because you created a mental system so sophisticated that it blinds you. At first, it seemed just careful. You didn't want to judge quickly, didn't want to be one of those people who react on impulse. So when something bothered you, you'd stop to think, analyze, try to understand the context, give the benefit of the doubt. This worked until it became automatic. You started doing this with everything. Someone disrespected you? You'd think about the reasons. Someone manipulated you? You'd try to understand the person's perspective. Someone crossed your boundaries? You'd look for justifications. Your mind started treating toxic behavior like an intellectual puzzle. And the more you thought, the further you got from the obvious answer, because the answer was there in the first moment that bothered you. But you didn't trust it, thought it was too simple, that you needed more time, more information, so you gave it time. And in that time, things normalized. What used to shock you became familiar. What was unacceptable became routine, and your brilliant head found explanations for everything. It told you the person was going through a difficult time, that you needed to be understanding, that relationships require patience, that nobody's perfect, that you have flaws too, that maybe you're being too demanding. All of this is true. These are valid arguments, rational. The problem is they work for normal situations, not for when someone is systematically hurting you, but you didn't see the difference, applied the same logic to everything, and while your mind was being fair and balanced, something in you was getting exhausted. That strange exhaustion started. It wasn't physical. It was like your internal energy was leaking. You'd wake up already tired, lost interest in things, got irritated easily. And what did you do? Rationalized that too. Thought it was work, lack of sleep, diet, needed vacation. Start working out might have helped, but that wasn't the real problem. The problem was in the situation you kept justifying, in the person you kept defending, in the pattern you kept accepting. And here's the first thing almost nobody notices. Your intelligence wasn't protecting you, it was keeping you trapped. Because every time you felt like leaving, setting boundaries, saying no, your mind came in with arguments for why you should stay. It showed you that you were being rational, giving another chance, that you were being mature, not reacting on impulse, that you were being intelligent, considering all angles. And you believed it, made sense, was coherent, was exactly the kind of thinking that always worked in other areas, except people aren't math. Toxic behavior isn't a puzzle to solve. Some situations don't need more analysis, they need action. But while you were thinking, things continued and deepened, because the person on the other side noticed something. With you, a specific strategy works, doesn't need force, doesn't need obvious manipulation, just appeal to your rationality, just give arguments that seem logical, create doubt, make you question your own perception, and you'll do the rest yourself. You take those arguments and develop them even further. Find connections the person hadn't even thought of. Build an entire narrative justifying everything, and believe it, because you created it yourself. It's a perfect trap. The smarter you are, the more elaborate it gets. You have more mental resources to keep the illusion standing. You know, when you explain a situation to someone and they look at you, not understanding how you don't see the obvious, you feel frustrated, because to you it's clear. You have arguments, have logic, have reasons, but the person keeps finding it strange, and you think they're not understanding the complexity, that they're oversimplifying, that they don't have all the information. Except maybe it's the opposite. Maybe they're seeing exactly what you're hiding from yourself with all these layers of thought. Maybe the truth really is simple, and your intelligence is just complicating it. You turn simple questions into mental labyrinths. Take clear behavior and create 1,000 interpretations. Receive an obvious signal and decide you need additional confirmation. And meanwhile, you're paying a price. Silent. Your self-confidence keeps decreasing, not dramatically. Just a little less each time you ignore your intuition, each time you disqualify what you're feeling, each time you decide your analysis is more reliable than your discomfort. You know what you need to do. Deep down, you always knew, but something resists. And it's not fear, it's not insecurity, it's your own intellect working against you, your argumentation being used to justify inaction, your ability to see multiple perspectives preventing you from taking a clear position. You created a system where everything has equivalent pros and cons, where every decision can be questioned, where nothing is definitive enough to require a response. This system gives you a sense of control. After all, you're thinking, analyzing, being careful, but really you're just avoiding, because acting would require trusting something beyond logic, would require accepting that some things you simply feel, and feeling always seemed less reliable than thinking, so you keep thinking. And the more you think, the more confused you get. You're trying to use the wrong tool for the problem. It's like trying to open a door with a hammer. You have strength, have technique, but that's not what the door needs. The door needs the right key. And the key isn't more analysis, it's clarity. It's brutal honesty with yourself. It's stopping building arguments and starting to listen to what your body has been screaming for months. That tension in your chest when the person speaks. That tiredness that doesn't pass. That desire to avoid conversation. That strange relief when you're alone. This isn't data to be interpreted, it's an answer. An answer your rational system is categorizing as noise. But it's not noise, it's information. Information that comes from a part of you much older than your reasoning. It's the kind of information that kept your ancestors alive, that detects danger before it becomes obvious. That knows when something's wrong even when everything seems normal. And you're ignoring it. Why? Because it doesn't come in argument format. Because it can't be explained in a meeting, because there's no concrete evidence. But you know what concrete evidence is? Your own wear and tear. The fact that you're constantly having to justify yourself. The fact that your boundaries are repeatedly tested. The fact that you feel small where you should feel respected. That's evidence. But you're treating it like opinion. Like something subjective that can be contested. And every time you think like this, you're choosing the other person's logic over your own experience. It's not fear of losing. It's fear of admitting you were wrong. That, with all your intelligence, all your analytical capacity, you were deceived. Or worse, you deceived yourself. Recognizing this means questioning the tool you trust most. Your own mind. Accepting it has limitations, that it can be used against you, that intelligence without wisdom is just a sophisticated form of self-sabotage. This scares you, because if your intelligence doesn't protect you, what does? The answer is uncomfortable, but necessary. What protects you is learning when not to think. It's having discernment to know when analysis is useful and when it's just a way to avoid uncomfortable truth. It's having courage to trust the obvious, the simple, what you already know without needing to prove. It's accepting that some decisions are based on how you feel, and that doesn't make them less valid. Actually, makes them more honest. Feelings don't lie. They don't build narratives. Don't create justifications. Just reflect what's happening at a deeper level. And while you postpone, while you keep analyzing, pondering, waiting for the right moment, something in you keeps closing, getting harder, more cynical, more disconnected. You start doubting not just the situation, but yourself. Start thinking maybe you're the problem, that you're being difficult, demanding, irrational. And ironically, the more you think like this, the more irrational you're being. Because being in a situation that hurts you and convincing yourself you should accept it isn't rationality. It's self-destruction disguised as maturity. You're not being balanced. You're being negligent with yourself. You're not being understanding. You're being complicit. You're not giving time for things to improve. You're giving time to get used to the unacceptable. And you know this. You really do. You just don't admit it, because admitting means having to do something, means the time for thinking is over and the time for acting has come. And acting is scary when you've spent so much time convinced you needed more information. But you don't need it. Never did. You already had everything. In the first moment something deeply bothered you. The rest was just elaboration, just a way to postpone the inevitable. The problem isn't the other person. It's the pattern you accept. It's the level of disrespect you tolerate. It's the distance between what you say you deserve and what you actually allow. This distance exists because you turned everything into an intellectual question. Took it to the field where you feel strong, where you can debate, where you can find exceptions, where you can build arguments. But relationships aren't debates, boundaries aren't theories, and dignity doesn't need argumentation. It simply is. Either you have it or you're negotiating it. And every negotiation of dignity is a loss. You can have 1,000 logical reasons to stay where you are, can list benefits, point out good moments, relativize problems, compare with worse situations, say you're learning, that you're growing. But if deep down you feel something's wrong, if that quiet voice doesn't stop whispering discomfort, if you need more and more arguments to keep yourself where you are, then you already have your answer. You're just choosing not to listen. Because listening means responsibility, means you can't hide behind endless analysis anymore, means you know and need to act based on that. Maybe that's what you've been avoiding from the start. Not the pain of leaving, not the difficulty of changing, but the responsibility of admitting you always knew, that your first impression was right, that your intuition didn't betray you, you betrayed it. Understanding this changes how you react, not all at once, but forever. You stop looking for external evidence to validate what you already feel internally. Stop waiting for the other person to change, to have permission to set boundaries. Stop using your intelligence as an excuse to tolerate the intolerable. You start realizing that rationality and intuition aren't opposites. They're complementary. Intuition detects, rationality organizes. But when you use rationality to deny intuition, you're just sabotaging yourself with sophisticated tools. The biggest change isn't external, it's internal. It's you stopping treating your own feelings as unreliable data. It's giving equal weight to what you feel and what you think. It's accepting that a brilliant mind without emotional connection is just a powerful processor running the wrong program. Doesn't mean you'll stop thinking, means you'll think better. You'll use your intelligence to support you, not sabotage you. You'll analyze situations to make better decisions, not to postpone necessary decisions. And you'll learn something fundamental. The smartest guys you know aren't the ones who think more. They're the ones who know when to stop thinking. They're the ones who trust the obvious. They're the ones who don't need 10 arguments to leave a situation that already hurt them the first time. They're not less rational. They're wiser. They understand that intelligence is a tool, and like every tool, it has a specific function. You don't use a hammer for everything just because you're good with a hammer. You choose the right tool for each situation. And in situations involving your emotional well-being, your boundaries, your dignity, the right tool isn't analysis. It's clarity, it's honesty, it's courage to trust yourself even when you can't explain it logically. Some things you simply know. And spending energy trying to prove to yourself what you already know is a luxury for those who can choose to stay. But it's also a prison for those who don't trust their own perception. The trap isn't being intelligent. It's thinking intelligence makes you immune to emotional mistakes. That thinking well compensates for feeling wrong. That sophisticated arguments change hard realities. They don't. They just postpone the moment you'll have to deal with it. And the more you postpone, the harder it gets. Not because the situation worsens, but because you get used to it. What was unacceptable on the first day becomes normal on the 100th. What was normal becomes who you are on the 300th. Then you look back and don't recognize how you got there. How someone so intelligent, so capable, ended up in a situation that anyone from outside would see as problematic. The answer is simple. You used all of that to justify staying, to explain the inexplicable, to give one more chance and another, until stopping giving chances became impossible because you invested too much in the narrative that you were being rational. But it was never about rationality. It was fear disguised as prudence. It was avoiding change disguised as patience. It was not trusting yourself disguised as intellectual humility. The way back isn't complicated, doesn't need more analysis, more time, more evidence, needs a decision. A decision based not on what you can prove, but on what you can no longer ignore. Needs you stopping treating your life like a philosophical problem and starting to treat it like your life, with your rules, your boundaries, your needs. That don't need to be justified to anyone, not even to yourself. When you do this, when you finally act based on what you always knew, something interesting happens. All that mental confusion disappears. That tiredness decreases, that fog lifts, and you realize it was never confusion. It was clarity being blocked by layers of unnecessary thinking. It was the obvious answer being hidden by complex questions. It was you knowing exactly what to do, but choosing not to do it. The trap is silent, doesn't announce its presence. You only realize you fell when you're already in, and the smarter you are, the deeper you dig. Because you have more tools, more resources, more ways to justify why you should keep digging. But digging doesn't take you up. No matter how skilled you are, no matter how much technique you have, you're still going in the wrong direction. Recognizing this isn't weakness. It's the only wisdom that matters. The one that makes you stop when you realize you're on the wrong path, even having walked a lot, even having invested time, even having been sure it was the right path when you started. Insisting on a mistake doesn't turn it into success, just turns it into a bigger mistake. And you don't need to prove anything by continuing, not to others, not to yourself, to nobody. You just need to be honest and act based on that, without fear of seeming impulsive, without fear of being wrong, without fear of being less rational than you've always been proud of. In the end, rationality isn't thinking more, it's thinking better. And thinking better includes knowing when to stop thinking and start feeling, when to stop analyzing and start trusting, when to stop looking for reasons and start respecting what you already know without needing reasons. If this made sense, write in the comments the word clarity.